You're tuned in to Season 3 of the Bird Joy Podcast, hosted by Dexter Patterson and Jason Hall. This podcast is for all the homies across the globe, a place to celebrate birds, community, and joy together. We're back with more stories from the birding world, more voices doing dope work in STEM, and more reasons to get outside and enjoy the birds. Are you ready for some bird joy? Let's go.
Welcome back to the Bird Joy Podcast, where we celebrate birds, nature, and the incredible people who help us see the world with wonder and purpose. I'm your host, Dexter Patterson, aka the Wisco Birder.
And I'm Jason Hall. Each week, we bring you the voices of folks who are changing what it means to belong in the outdoors. And today, we're closing out our guest interviews for Season 3 with a absolutely fantastic human.
Our guest today is a true leader in the outdoors. He is the founder of Color in the Outdoors, a lifelong adventurer, educator, and advocate for equity in the outdoors. We are thrilled to welcome our brother, Christopher Kilgour, to the Bird Joy Podcast.
I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. From camping to canoeing, caving, community organizing, Chris has developed programs and partnerships that enable people from diverse backgrounds to experience joy, healing, and connection through nature.
And y'all, this episode is personal. We're diving into his roots, his powerful work with Peace of Mind Acres, our shared passion projects such as the Underground Hiking Collective, and the honor of being featured in People the Planet Needs Now by Dudley Edmondson. This one is packed with bird joy and real talk. Let's get into it.
Chris, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with y'all. And in these spaces, it's one of those things where when you're being interviewed or when you're spending time with somebody that isn't somebody you know, that's one passion piece. But when it's people you love, know, and respect, I mean, it's that brings it to a whole new level.
Love
That's
you
right,
too,
man.
Bro. For
Yeah,
real.
Man. I've only known you for about a month because I had the pleasure of coming over there, Dexter. I mean, he could have just left me in them woods, man. I would have been so happy. But I'm so happy that we are able to have you on. And so let's start off right. Let's kind of ground this moment. Where are you calling in from today, and what is something that's bringing you peace or joy lately?
So I'm just outside of Mayville, Wisconsin, which is a tiny town in kind of east central Wisconsin, about an hour north of Madison, an hour north of Milwaukee, actually, for people that are kind of trying to triangulate where that is. As far as things that bring me joy, I'm sitting in what I use as my office, which is kind of the sunroom of the house that overlooks the pond outside and overlooks the woods. And, I can't complain. I mean, that's in and of itself a beautiful thing that kind of grounds me daily. Oftentimes I get called out and being in Zoom meetings, et cetera, for like, what are you looking at? And I was like, everything, I mean, I'm looking at the world. I feel like I'm in an aquarium looking out, and early today, actually, my good friend, in fact, Dexter, Tony Dugas was out here.
Nice.
Helping me haul seaweed off the pond, because that is one of those maintenance things we got to keep up on out here. Just before I joined y'all, he's out there in his kayak fishing right now. So watching that we're doing the weed removal to keep the fish population healthy, and he's out there trying to make sure that
Tony would say, if there's fish out there, I'm gonna catch them.
And he will. He will.
He caught a couple weeks ago, 20-inch bass out there. Like, I'm like, dude, you got fish like there. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, I got to go fishing next time I go. I know Donetta was talking about fishing out there too. I was like, I gotta go fishing with the homies out there next time I'm there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we catch a lot. I mean, I had some folks out. We do fishing year round out here, and we did a ice fishing workshop with some friends of mine that are in their late 60s, had never been ice fishing before, and we took 70 fish off the water that day. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, they're out here, man. They're out here.
Yeah, when he say pond, that pond real out there, bro.
I'm like,
it is.
I just find it wild. Like, you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ice fishing in my backyard today. Like,
yeah,
because I live in Philly. It's warm enough by the coast over here with New Jersey. Like, we don't really get no ice fishing opportunities anywhere around here. So that's just wild. It brings such a smile to my face, because I just imagine all these joyful people out there on that pond just freezing and chilling and just fun, yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, bro, why I tell Jason I was going to go ice fishing this last winter? And he was like, bro, good luck with
See ya.
Well, and here's the truth. Like when I grew up, in Madison, looking right across the street at the Tenney Lagoon, and right at the end of the block was Lake Mendota. And so I'd see people out there ice fishing, all winter long. And some of them, the diehards, even when it was cold out, would just sit out on a 5-gallon bucket, right? And it was just like, there's no way. There is no way
That's a
I'm going
level.
out there. But then as time progressed, I started doing it. A friend of mine took me out, and they had an ice shanty that was all heated, and they had, it's like, this isn't bad at all. And, because I do work with folks that in many cases have not ever spent this kind of time outdoors, and not ever, especially in extreme temperatures of any sort. So I was able to pick up a few pop-up ice fishing shanties, that are insulated, and then you put a heater in them. And I mean, at times it's 65 degrees in there. You wear a t-shirt and you're still fishing right through ice, and it changes the game, right? So then we actually took it a step further, and we got an underwater camera, on the tether, and you can lower the camera down, and so you can actually watch the fish swim around. And that brings the attention back, especially with the little ones, right? They're like, it's like watching TV. You can watch
they're
the fish come
live
in,
and they're down there swimming, and it's frozen. Like,
you can see the hooks, right? And then they can see the fish swim up and grab it, and so that changes the game. So we,
oh, that's amazing.
But it's a joy to be able to do that kind of thing, to be able to literally walk out my back door or front door and share this with as many people as possible, and be able to continue to that point of creating that awe, that wonder, that love. And the only way we get people to take care of the planet is to care about the planet. And in many cases, the only way you care about it is to experience it real time, instead of hear about it in a podcast or not that isn't a good thing, but that's the start, right? Like we want to get them hooked and then get them out. And
literally get them hooked, literally.
Yeah. Well, except for the actual hook.
As y'all can see, Chris is really about that outdoor life. You 100%. Have dedicated your life to the outdoors. And I mean, let's talk a little bit about what inspired you to start your organization, Color in the Outdoors. What was your vision? When did you launch this? When did you say, I need to create this amazing organization?
So I would say, in all honesty, my Color in the Outdoors started, the idea for it, the spark for it, right? Started when I was a kid. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the outdoor spaces with my family. I was adopted, and a lot of the beautiful places that I got an opportunity to spend time in, I didn't see a lot of folks that looked like me. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Of course, as a kid, you don't really think about it in the terms that we do understand now. But even back then, I just started inviting my friends, right? Like, hey, let's go do this. And oftentimes I would keep hearing people say, well, we don't do that, whatever the we demographic was. And I was like, well, we do that because I'm part of the we, and I'm out here doing it. So,
and I love it.
And I love it, right? So I'm not sure which we're speaking of, but it's me. So
you mean you?
You mean you, because it's not we. But what ultimately wound up happening over time was more people came along and then heard about it from other people who came along, and it just grew. I would say it wasn't until I was probably in my early 20s that I knew that it was something that had to turn into something more formalized, because I've always likened it to like a pickup basketball game in the outdoors, right? Like, just, hey, we're going to go do this thing, and people would show up. And as it started to grow larger, people kept saying, you really should organize this more. And, with things like schedules and registration and all those things, we realized that it really do need to be a little bit more organized. And that's where the idea came about. And the name was very intentional, because, you can't replicate, no matter how hard we try as human beings, you can never replicate what nature can do by itself. The colors that are out here, the shapes that are out here, the dynamic diversity that exists in nature, we can't replicate that. We keep trying, but we can't do it. And so I wanted to celebrate that idea, the whole idea of kind of the color in and of the outdoors. So it's those of us out there celebrating and enjoying that which is already there. My parents were avid naturalists, so I was gifted with that wonder and knowledge as a kid, because that's what we did. Like, they were the people that were going to go on vacation, because they were both educators, right? So we're going to take a road trip somewhere every summer, and my sister and I like, like we want to stay home. We're not playing.
Are we there yet?
Yeah, but you know what? Looking back at it, I was like, man, we went to so many amazing places. I learned so many. My mother was to the point of what y'all do. My mother was an avid bird watcher, and she spent a ton of time outdoors. And so I learned a lot from her growing up. She was one of those people that could absolutely, this is long before Merlin, right? Like you could boom, pick up something and be like, that's a such and such and the so and so. And I was like, and that was, but her passion and her love for it and the joy that she got from it really sparked a lot of what drove me in a lot of the other directions that I took, hunting and fishing and camping and canoeing and the science aspect of it, because I'm definitely a science nerd. So going into geology and going into limnology and getting into forestry and understanding the sciences behind the things that I was spending time in, on, or around, right? So that's really what continued to drive all the different things that we do within color and the outdoors proper, is continuing to manifest that wonder and that joy, but also having some of that science behind it and having some learning that takes place no matter what we're doing, no matter where we are, so that you walk away more enriched than you were when you started. And we, how it is, you can trick people into learning something. It's great, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I don't like school. I don't like school. Hey, what's the name of that bird? That's indigo. Oh, dang it, I learned something. Yeah.
Got him. Like we always like to say.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's absolutely incredible. And a lot of what you're talking about is this, it sounds like it started with community first, like really big capitalized community. Let's just get together. And then you realize that you were providing equity, you were providing access, and you had to kind of organize it. As you're kind of moving through this, and you have moved through this, like, what does inclusion in outdoor spaces in particular look like and mean to you? And where do you see the most opportunity for change? Like, where are you kind of pointing your navigational beacons?
Well, that's a beautiful question. And I think I would answer it by this. We have a shirt coming out. I got to try to keep up with y'all over at BIPOC Birders and those shirts and everything.
But they got some nice designs over there.
I know. But the shirt had, Color in the Outdoors, all the logos that we have, that kind of thing. But you know how you have these bumper stickers for travel that have 3 letters for like Great Britain or wherever you go. And the 3 letters are ATW. That stands for according to who. And I think to that point of diversity and inclusion, and especially when we're talking about these spaces, is that people often say, well, this is inclusive and this is welcome and these things are open and these are accessible. And you say, well, according to who? And if the people that are creating the rules and defining the accessibility and all these things are the people that don't need to even think about it, then those that should be included often are not. And so when a demographic, and it doesn't matter who it is, doesn't feel comfortable, when a demographic doesn't feel included, doesn't feel appreciated, doesn't feel seen, doesn't feel as though there is indeed true access to these spaces, then we're doing it wrong. And I think that so that when it comes to equity and access in these spaces, we have to have conversations with everyone at the table. And I would argue one step further, because I'm a little fiery about that whole idea of like making sure we all have a seat at the table. But I'm like, if I don't have a fork and a plate and a knife and a cup and a meal, then I'm just the hired help. You just let me sit at the table with you. So maybe I'll just go build my own table. And
you're not supposed to be there to be ornamental,
And let's take it even a step further. Depending on what community and culture you're talking about, there should not be a table in the first place. We just sit in a circle and talk, because a table in and of itself can be a barrier, right? And depending on what shape it is, you may not see everyone at it. So therefore you wouldn't necessarily hear everyone's voice or equally. So we really have to take deep dive into what that looks like and who defines what is accessible and who defines what is equal. From my end of things, I am definitely maybe not even just squeaky wheel, but I'm that squealing wheel. When that brake indicator hits the metal and starts making that screechy noise, when it's time to change the brakes. Well, maybe that's a metaphor, right? Like it's time to change the brakes. Maybe we need to figure out why it's making this noise and what we could do differently. So I think that as far as equity in the outdoors is concerned, I think that we really need to examine how that's been manifested thus far, and whether or not we need to change it a step further. Because if you put up a sign, right, that's great. That's a first step. Welcome to all. If you have signage with verbiage and with optics of people that look like all of the folks you want to engage in, that's great. to many of the talk that you all have had and talks that Dexter has given. But like, if you get side-eyed, if people suck their teeth when they walk past you, if you see things even to that point of things that are somewhat prohibitive or indications of only one demographic, like you walk into some buildings, for instance, on a university campus, using that as an example,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just busts of old white men on the wall. Well, that doesn't represent a vast majority of the student population. And so the people that walk through these halls, it's not even a guest at the table. It's just that you're here to pay your fees, to get some class time, to move on, versus that could be you. And I think that that's where we really need in these spaces, and that's what y'all are doing. Is that this not it can be you, but this is already us, because you're here sitting here talking to me, listening to me. I'm listening to you. We're already sharing this space. So how do we make it and continue to make it and celebrate it as ours, not just theirs, or not just something that is a othering?
Yeah, that's that representation matters, folks. We've had this
100%.
conversation, and and I've said this before. There's that phrase: if you can see it, you can be it. Cool. If you can see it, you can be it, and do it. Now you've kind of completed this circle of, yes, I can see myself. Yeah, I deserve a bust. I am that person, right?
Exactly.
I belong out here, and that's kind of the core of all the work that we do out here. And I see you, like, when you're out here teaching people all these outdoor skills. You're teaching everything from outdoor survival to kayaking, foraging. You just had Alexis Nicole here, the Black Forager in Wisconsin, on your property. How talk a little bit about how you go about making these activities welcoming for beginners or people who didn't typically grow up in the outdoors. I've seen this, I've witnessed this myself, but I'd love to hear you talk to our listeners about how you make those activities welcoming for everybody.
That's a tricky thing, right? Like, so being able to say open to all, that's great. But I really am intentional about who gets invited in many cases to events. And although I would really love to just swing the door wide open and say open to the public, I think it's very difficult to make sure that you can maintain a safe space, an encouraging space, a brave space for people without paying a little bit of attention to how that works, right? And again, that according to me, asking questions of the people that may be coming to the events and saying, how would you feel best? How would this make you feel the most comfortable, feel the most safe, and start shaping, the activities, the actions around those activities within that mindset. So for instance, going back a little bit, I was asked to give a talk about storytelling and digital storytelling, and talking about the outdoor spaces in particular a long time ago for an organization down in the Southwest. And they were talking specifically about displays in a museum type setting. And I said, how many of you have ever walked through your museums on your knees? And everybody kind of looked at me like I laughed. And I said, you're telling me that you want to attract young people to this space, and you're telling me you want kids to be enthused about it and excited about this thing. And if you can't see the thing that you're trying to display, because everyone's putting them up literally on pedestals, and the kids are looking at the nameplate because the thing that they're supposed to be looking at is 4 feet above their head, then they're not actually going to ever get excited about it. So you need to look at it from the perspective of the people you're trying to engage with. And I think that resonates on a whole variety of levels. Even with the trails, for instance, on the property, we're looking at redesigning these so they're far more accessible for wheelchairs. We're looking at working with organizations that have all access wheelchairs to be able to ride the trails that are a little bit more challenging in certain areas with a grade or with a kind of rough terrain. But I think that point of being intentional in these spaces, it's being able to ask questions. And that's often, even to that point of the foraging event that we did, Dexter, if you notice, like, I didn't spend a lot of time talking to folks once they started. I was talking in front. I was in the back, and I was constantly paying attention to the group that was there. I was constantly making sure that people had water, that people had bug spray, that people were taken care of, because that's how you're constantly getting that feedback and being able to adjust and staying flexible and engaged enough to adjust in a way that it's not performative, right? It's intentionally saying, how best can we make this an experience that when you leave, you have nothing but smiles and stories. The only fatigue you feel is because you are able to let that load you've been carrying go for a while. And so you're actually noticing it for the first time in a long time. It's not that you're actually perhaps more tired than you were. It's just that they were first able to notice it by putting that down for a while and just to be. So, and then, getting that feedback after the event, for instance, and everybody puts out the surveys, right? And sometimes it's just for qualitative or quantitative data in order to apply for this or that grant or et cetera. But I really read through every single one and I take notes and I sit down with the people that we did the event with and say, we always call it the pros and the deltas, like what was great, what worked, but what can we change? And how do we make that more of a wraparound experience the next time we do it? And how do we, instead of saying, well, this is our setup, this is how we do it, this is the curriculum, these are the ways we deliver it, and period. Even, the space that we started to create out here was designed around all of those I wish they would have moments back in the day, where you go to an event, you're like, I wish they would have done this differently, or I wish they would have had this, or I wish they. So I'm all the time driving people nuts. I'm like, okay, I got 45 notes here that I want to try to talk about this one thing, specific placement of a door handle so that everyone can reach it. They're like, really? You're going to go that? It's like, yes, I am.
When I was visiting you, you had thought of so many things about the space already, right? And I was most impressed with the heated floors. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, it's heated floors because you got to get rid of some snow or some ice. It's Wisconsin. It's wild up there where you all live, right? And you were like, no, like when we bring kids, most of the time they sit on the floor, and I want it to be comfortable for them. And that just, my head exploded because I was like, why? Like I didn't even think about it, but there were so many different things that you had thought about for the space. And it sounds like you're still thinking about it. And I wonder where this started, this kind of idea of accessibility, because you're mentioning the children in the museum. Like, what was their perspective? And like your earliest birding memories, at Tenney Park with your mom and Madison, and your connection with some of the nature there. Is that where you started to kind of develop that perspective? What was that journey like for you? How did you start to connect those early experiences to what you then want to provide to children in the future?
I think a lot of it did definitely stem from my childhood, and the folks around me. My parents, both my mother and my father, were avid outdoors people. I say that all the time, but I have pictures of me on a backpack on the beach that my father was walking around, picking up stones and things and showing them to me, and constantly engaging me. Because a lot of times nowadays, and I'll say it out loud, like parents walking their kids with their phone in their hand, not paying any attention to anything. Like there's so many missed opportunities, And then I love to see the opposite. We have parents who stop every 10 feet and they're like, look, there's a chipmunk, or hey, look, that's a leaf, or whatever the case may be. And so I definitely was given that gift at an early age by my parents, but also, community members that were really involved and enthused about these things. It's, and how that feels, right? Like that teacher or that adult of any sort, because it's usually that's like, hey, look at this thing. And you're like, that's just a leaf. And they're like, no, you don't understand. This is a maple leaf. And you see these right here. These are the veins, and it brings it. It's in all the things. You're like, wow, I didn't know there was that much about it, but now I do. And now that's stuck in my head. And now I got to do something with that.
It's that excitement too that helps it stick in the head. Like, they're like, wait, this person that I kind of like and look up to is like really excited about this thing.
Absolutely.
That sparks a memory too, or a curiosity in you where you're like, maybe I should pay attention to these leaves.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool.
And I think that, as time progressed, I would be remiss if I didn't give credit to a lot of those, growing up in my elementary school, middle school, high school. Like I remember very vividly those teachers, those instructors, those counselors that weren't necessarily all nature, or all those things, but we love the fact that you love it, and therefore we want you to continue to love it. So what can we help you do to make that happen? And I think that that's the other component to that, which is we don't all have to like the same things. Some of us are avid birders I've been out birding my entire life, and I'm a kindergartner compared to y'all. I mean, like I still will say that out loud. I'm like, I have binoculars and I can identify the colors, and I have Merlin. That's as far as I go with this, right? And but I love it. I love it. I love to be outside. I love it. And whenever I'm doing other things like kayaking or canoeing or hunting or whatever, I have my binoculars, and 99% of the time it's not to see what I'm hunting for or what I'm doing. It's to see the birds, because that's something that's been ingrained in me. And so I think that to have people that support that passion is incredibly important. And I think that has always been what has driven me, and kind of driven me to celebrate what I love, is the people that I've been surrounded with, who have encouraged that celebration, right? And they may not necessarily have the same love. They have different, but they see the passion and they see the excitement, and they want to encourage and to support and cultivate that. So, I look back I had a principal in high school who, And I'll tell you what, and this is actually, I will tell this anecdotal story, and I apologize for rambling, but
Please do.
We love this.
Milt McPike, who was the principal at Madison East High
Oh, a
School,
legend.
I had the absolute fortune. I mean, he was one of the most amazing people I have ever dealt with in my life when it comes to that world of education. And he ruled with absolute poise and grace. And I mean, everyone was scared of him just because he was a giant, but he was a gentle giant and he was a brilliant man. And he cared about he knew every single student, and he could tell you who your family was and who you were connected to, and would call you out if you were late for class and tell you he was going to call your mom, and you knew he would. But I ran into him couple of years after I graduated high school, and I was involved in a detective agency back then, and we did a lot of law enforcement related stuff. And I was in a firearms store actually picking up some equipment, and he walked in carrying this case, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "What are you doing here?" So we talked a little bit, and he pulled out the shotgun that he used for bird hunting. And I was like, I didn't know you did that. He's like, I've been doing it. So all of a sudden, like I had never even thought about doing that end of things. But I was like, this man who I've looked up to my entire life, like literally my entire life, is doing this thing. Like there must be something to this. And that's actually what sparked my interest in even going in that direction, was just that one man in that one space at that one moment, because of my absolute adoration for him. I was like, I want to know all the things he likes to do because it must be cool, and ran with it. I feel like there are those moments where we often, I mean, I can tell you the day that I fell in love with photography, Joe Thomas, who was a counselor in one of the schools I was in, he got me started with picture taking and the love of developing photos and seeing that magic happen. And I took it off from there. And, all these, Richard Scott, who was a counselor at Madison East High School, and Donald Cooper, who was a counselor at what was Marquette then, now is O'Keefe. These are all people who 100% inspired me, and I could make a list a mile long, but and again, they were like, if you love it, we love that for you. And therefore we're going to do what we can to help continue to follow that passion. And that was it. So that's to me, that's the best way to do it. There's a woman who has since left us, Jackie DeWalt, who was at the university, and her saying
all
was
these
that,
legends. You keep naming all these legends.
I'm telling you, but I got to give them credit because, right, like these are people that inspired me. And she said, lift as you climb. And that I truly believe in. I truly believe in it. And I think that the other thing that we have to remember is that sometimes we have to lift as we climb, but sometimes we can get to a stable spot where we're going to lift and then we're going to push. And we're going to try to help people go even higher than where we were. And I think
be
that's
that one person for somebody else, right?
Yes.
That
absolutely.
one person that made you feel seen and heard and supported you. I know Jason's been that person for endless amounts of people within Color Birding Club. I do my best to do that with the youth because we gotta use these platforms. And that's why I'm so passionate about reaching the kids right now, is to be that one person that maybe opens a door for them, that makes them curious, like you talked about with the maple leaf, or just says, you know what, I am so happy that you love this and I love that for you. How can I help you? How can I push you, like you just said, and help you get to that next level? And look what it did, Chris. Like you're sitting in what you said, like an aquarium right now, right? Surrounded by nature and wildlife. I always laugh when I see like those shirts or those coffee cups that says easily distracted by birds. And then I'm looking at you sitting in that office and you're talking about being on Zoom calls and you're easily distracted by the nature that
100%.
surrounds you
100%.
all the time. You're now stewarding not only the 92 acres of land that you have, but you've talked about that you're caring for other pieces of property, but your property in particular, Peace of Mind Acres. Tell us the story behind the name and what inspired you to create this beautiful space.
So I'll go back to just before the pandemic hit, and maybe even further back than that. I used to live I grew up in Madison, but then moved to a different piece of land with my ex-wife. We owned some property outside of Poinet and 40 some odd acres there. And the goal was to do something similar there. And it wasn't a super ideal place, but it was a patch of woods. And so I actually was involved in scouting. And so we would take the scouts out there and we would do winter camping and we would do, survival skills and all those types of things. But I always wanted to be near water and it didn't quite work. Well, when the relationship dissolved, that access to property was, one of those things. And so a dear human to me, a friend of mine and I were talking about, because they had gone through similar experience, and we were talking about how it would be so great to have land that you just kind of get away to, et cetera. And we had different ideas and different kind of intentions of how much time we were going to spend there, et cetera. But I was like, I'd really love to find a place that could be a place I could live on, and then also have an educational space of sorts to be able to continue to do the work with Color in the Outdoors. Just before the pandemic closed down, found this, and looked at a couple other spots kind of together, saying, we should think about this someday. Maybe we could kind of co-invest in a property like this. And I do have to give, incredible credit to Tammy for the amount of time, energy, and effort and finance she put into this space, and continues to, because it's been a labor of love on both sides of, kind of how we look at this space. But it's an old retired iron mine. And so when we found the place, it's such and you've been out here, Dex. Well, both of you have been out here, so like it's diverse in geography, it's diverse in geology, it's diverse in flora and fauna, but it also speaks volumes to the fact that it is a space that was once absolutely decimated by humans, and it was taken down to literally the bare rock for a mile in every direction, and there was nothing but dirt out here. And now we've got 60 acres of woods and 30 plus acres of agricultural and prairie space, and restoring some of the egg space into more pollinated prairie, starting in the spring. This is a lesson in reclamation, right? A lesson in land finding its symbiotic balance, and finding this space where the pendulum swings one direction and then the other, and then finds this balance that nature does on its own, right? And that's the other beautiful thing. I mean, we talk about being stewards in these spaces, and I'm like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do that. And in other cases, I've been reminded both quite honestly, by indigenous elders, friends and family members, it's going to do its thing regardless of what you do. You're actually making these changes kind of for you, because nature's going to do its thing. It's going to be okay. Like, that's true. Now we have impacted it in some cases where we've changed perhaps the course. It's still going to do its thing. So my goal, once we kind of found this spot, was to create as much access to the space, create as many trails as we possibly could, create as much diversity, or continue to foster the diversity that was already in place, and have that be a metaphor, right? Like, this is a place that is healed, therefore can be healing. This is a space that consistently is changing and transforming, just like we are. This is a place that does live in harmony. It finds its own balance like we can. And then the name in and of itself, I mean, this is a old mine. And so I did a little play on words, and people kept trying to spell check me when I said, no, it's spelled Piece of Mined, because it's a piece of a mine. And so
I love it.
I'm one of those people. I kept saying peace, like Musa. He's like, exactly. It's peace, like a piece of it,
like a portion of, right. And so, and that was very intentional, because I want people to come out here feeling that peace, that PEACE, sure, and that peace of mind, MIND, but it is peace of mind found on a piece of mind. And so there's there's a lot to be said about that. The beautiful thing about the mining practices out here, and during the time that it was being mined, is that it was for the era of tons of chemicals and toxic interventions. So we're really fortunate that way, that iron mining was just
taking some stuff out of the rocks. Yeah. They weren't pumping it full of a bunch of other weird stuff and having to run off, it sounds like. So, and that place is really beautiful. Like, just the pond out back, the color, the contrast of the water and the rocks. Like, that was what struck me. But I wonder, you, Dexter, and Jasmine launched the Underground Hiking Collective, right? Which sounds, if you've gone with it this far in the podcast, folks, this tracks, right? this makes sense, right? And so tell us a little bit about that collective and what that community has meant to you personally.
Jasmine and I have known each other since high school, basically. Actually, I always say middle school, because I was in middle school while she was in high school. Yeah, I'm calling it out. She's older than me.
That's why we can never say no to her.
Exactly. But I have nothing but love and adoration for Jasmine. And it's funny, because Dexter and I met kind of in an indirect way, and I think the first time we actually spent time together, Dexter, was when you came out here, wasn't it? And then we got to, and I'll tell you what, Jason, when I saw him high-fiving and jumping up and down and giggling the first time they saw a bird they hadn't seen in a while, I was like, that's love and joy right there.
I
And
had
that's
like 60-some species at his crib. Like the first time I went there, I was going crazy.
It was
Golden wing
beautiful.
warblers, and I was like, bro,
man,
you got golden wing warblers on your property. Like, I was like, did you know this? Like, I kept asking them, like, did you know you had this one? What about this one? What about this one? Like, it was insane, bro. Like, I'm like, blue wing warblers and multiple wood thrushes. Like, I'm like, dude, there's 2 wood thrushes right there. And I'm like, right there. And I'm like freaking out. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. And I was like, dude, this is your backyard. Like, I still can't believe it. Indigo bunting singing all over the place. I was like, dude, this is insane. So, my bad. I'm see, you got me all excited.
No. But see, that was it. It was that passionate. And so when Jasmine reached out, you know, I'd been talking with her, and Dexter and I have done some stuff together, trying to get all kinds of collaborations together. And it literally is like bringing the super friends together when I get to spend time with those two. I mean, it is all the love and all the support and all of it's, there's, in my opinion, right, there's no piece of the time we spend together that is ever built on a deficit model, that is ever parasitic, that is ever anything but harmony. And we work well in the way we work off of each other. I am definitely that person that likes to be, I always call it the caboose. I always like to be the last one in line when we're walking around, right? Because I can make sure that everyone, and part of that is my old, protective nature of my old careers in law enforcement and blah, blah, blah. But part of it is just I'm that caretaker. I like to make sure that people are all taken care of, right? So I like to be in the back. And Jasmine is one of those people that is a logistic wizard. I mean, she does amazing things. But she also she is just such an incredible heart. I mean, she is a walking heart. Like, you just feel better. You feel better when you stand next to her. You don't even have to say anything, right?
That smile.
Yeah, she's just amazing, amazing community advocate and ally, and does amazing things for and with people. So when Jasmine reached out to the 2 of us, I was like, I couldn't type yes fast enough when she said, "You ought to do this." I was like, I don't care what it is. Like, if she said, "You want to go sit on a bunch of tax?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes. Like, if you want to do it, I'm with you." So, and to be able to provide this, and we overuse safe space, right? But to provide this safe and brave space for our concentric circles of human beings, and to see how it literally went from what I think 12 the first time.
Yeah, we've had over 40 at some, like it's just grown into something just absolutely beautiful. I
think we're close to 200 for the membership. I mean, it's just exploded, and it's that word of mouth, right? That spreads, that we're like, this is for us, by us. And I think that and again, I don't want to speak for other organizations, but I would say that the nature of the beast is that when we want to do an activity or an event, especially if we're trying to bring the public into it, we may not have all BIPOC group. We may have a very mixed bunch. And to that point, I always want to make sure that we are inclusive and welcoming. But there is also something very important about having affinity space, regardless of who it is. To this point, the Underground Hiking Collective is a BIPOC focused, BIPOC only hiking group, and it shows. People show up because of that, and to have this, and the beautiful thing about it is that we are us. We have kids show up, people bring their dog. I mean, it's just all the things, and kids will run crazy, and nobody even blinks an eye, right? Because the whole group is taking care of that. That's the village.
It's the village. Yeah, right? We are.
And so the beauty of being able to be part of this is just something else. And like I said, Dexter's got the bird things. And if there's a plant that somebody wants to identify and see if you can eat it, I'm with you. I got you. And if they want to know if we can do this or that, okay, cool. And then Jasmine's a master naturalist, so she's answering questions on her own as well. So you've got 3 people that are just kind of moving within the group and sharing that love for that space, and it rubs off.
Yeah. Bro, you know what I love is every time we meet, there's always somebody that has never been on a hike.
Yeah.
That fires me up.
Like some of them have never been outside.
Yeah. Right? Like then they get done and they're like, when's the next one?
Yeah.
And that just every time I'm like, yeah, when is the next one? Basically in our chat, like, because like that is the stuff. Like we are showing people what is possible out there, and the joy is different, the jokes are different, the way we operate out there is different than a lot of these other spaces that we invite allies to and different things. So I love being able to offer not only my community, our birding community from the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, those BIPOC only opportunities opportunities, but how many people I've been able to meet in the community that I never knew before, to be able to expose them to the work that I do, and to be able to meet up with you and be able to develop our relationship more. And then Jasmine as well. She came to our first ever birding event because she heard me on Angela Russell's podcast, and she brought her daughter and her granddaughter to our very first birding event. And the first time I talked to her, I was like, I need this woman in my life.
100%. Yes.
Like I was like, ever since then, I was like, just like a huge fan. So I'm running around with my Jasmine Banks signs wherever I go, and just telling people how much I adore her. And shout out to her, because the Underground Hiking Collective has changed my life. And I just love the group and all the people. And man, wow. Yeah. Y'all got me emotional right now.
No, it's real. And I think that's the thing. And it's funny. And I'll call you out, Dex, because I think that we all do this, is that at the end of every hike, I think that all three of us have a hard time not showing emotion and not getting teary eyed, because it's a constantly transformative, and it builds on itself. Like you can see the weight coming off of people's shoulders. You can see the bond being created between people. In many cases, to your point, Dex, earlier, people had never even met each other before, who are exchanging information. And we had one person on a hike that I've been trying for years to get outside, and she showed up, and she's like, I brought my knife just in case. And I was like, you're gonna be okay. You're with us, right? And by the time it was over, she was posting like, I'm bringing my family tomorrow. And then they came out with, wasn't it the next day that they went back out to the same place, and they're like, these deer were chasing us. And but it was like, this is a person who had never done it before and had swore they were never going to do it. And now
shout out to Sabrina.
Now they out there.
Yes, man. Shout out to Sabrina. Yeah, I want her to hear this because I love her for it. I mean,
love her so much.
That is 100% the passion that I love it.
Wow.
So I don't know if I answered that question, but I'll tell you. I mean, I agree with Dexter 1,000% that there's just something magical about this group, and it has caused, I think, all of our circles to grow, and it has caused this awareness with one another to just expand on levels that I don't think would ever happen. And Madison is a weird town that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for an urban setting, we have far more silos than most rural spaces, right? Like we silo everything. I mean, and instead of buildings, we just have silos everywhere. There's all these different groups doing these different things, but we have a really hard time in appreciating the value of concentric circles.
Power of the collaboration. We've talked about that on this podcast numerous, and I say this all the time, Chris, the people that are collaborating are the ones that are going to win. And I think that's why we're being successful. That's why we're winning, because we're just there together. And when I think about collaboration, you and Jason both were featured in The People the Planet Needs Now by the homie Dudley Edmondson. We had Dudley on a few weeks back. What did that moment mean to you to be featured in Dudley's book?
I'm still humbled on a whole bunch of levels, to be honest with you. I can tell you exactly where I was standing. I can tell you, I mean, it was a strange sequence of events where he and I met when he and the group were here for the Blackwaters event, the film that Dudley was involved in. I invited them to come out here and to just hang out for a day and do some fishing and hike around a little bit. And while we were walking around and talking about it, he had asked if I'd be interested in being a chapter in this book. And I thought he was kidding at first, to be honest with you. I was like, yeah, okay. And he said, no, I'm serious. And he said, I'd really like to talk about what you do. And I was blown away. And so I was like, well, yeah, and so our friendship kind of developed from that point, just because we were corresponding so much about the book. But Dudley is an amazing dude. He does so many amazing things. And then I'll tell you what, I was fanning. I was just like, I was looking through this book, and truth be told, and I don't, Jason, I don't know how you were about this, but I honestly didn't even read my chapter for probably the first 3 months I owned the book, because I was too busy trying to get in touch with all the other people in the book.
Yeah,
I was like, look at all these people.
I was stalking on socials. Like I was like, what we should have done? We should have included QR codes to everybody's social media account.
Because I really was. Stalking is a good word, because I was like, oh my, reading everybody's story and here, I mean, just and then again, the way the universe works, right? Like, and here's Jason at the building. And I was like, oh, you got to sign my book.
That was so cool. That was a moment where I was like, sitting there like proud homie. Because I'm like looking at both of y'all. I'm like, this is so cool that y'all are meeting for the first time. And what made it even more special, it was Juneteenth.
It was Juneteenth.
Jason and I had just went to Horicon Marsh and Culver's. And we brung you some too.
You did.
But like I was just sitting there and I was so excited. Like I was like, I cannot believe these two are meeting together. They're both featured in this book. It was like this serendipitous moment, and I was just super proud to be both of y'all friends at that time.
It was and I think that to me continues to be the point that I keep trying to get across to everybody, is that we have to work aggressively at loving and supporting one another and singing each other's praises from as high up as we can possibly get. We get so caught up, and especially when we talk about social media and all this other mess, right? We get so caught up in the performative nature of trying to promote ourselves that we forget that the only reason we're successful is because of all the people that are promoting us.
Amen.
And so we just to be in that space, with you, Jason, to be like, no, this dude is doing amazing things. And it was so funny because I was following you on social media before you were in the book and all these things, right? So we obviously we do stalk each other, right? Like in these spaces, and it's like, how come we don't spend time? And part of it also is like, I don't know if I want to talk about you because I don't really know you. You could be just that Instagram person, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, especially in spaces like Dudley's book, it's like, this is a person who's vetted that already, right? So we know that these are good people being celebrated by a good person. And I think that that's the important part of that, right? Is being able to sing the praises once we know and continue to celebrate that.
Yeah, and it's certainly an honor for me to be in there, and you definitely made my peanut butter skin blush when you were like, "Can you sign my book?" I was like, "Who, me?"
Like, now that's real. You're doing amazing things,
as I'm standing on Peace of Mind acres, right? And I'm like, am I doing enough? I mean, damn. But it was very great for me, and I immediately felt, as soon as I walked in the door and saw you, and we embraced, and Dexter obviously speaks very highly of you. I think you, if I could speak for Dexter a little bit, I think you do serve as a little bit of a mentor for some of his thoughts and goals at times. And I wonder, and I immediately felt that when I walked in the door. I felt like I could have just sat right over on one of your chairs by the workbench and started peppering you with questions, and you would have sat and answered me, right?
All day.
And it sounds like you've mentored a lot of people like that, right? Like you've really got into a consistent space of making sure that you're available as time goes on. And so what do you think makes a great mentor in the outdoor space, in particular, when it comes to educating people and forming a sense of equity?
Back to what I was saying a little bit before, but I think the best mentors are the people that love your love for whatever it is and figure out ways to support that and that passion. And I think that making time, now I will say to a fault, I get chastised incessantly all the time because people like, you are too busy. You do too many. And I admit I do too many things.
We're extras sometimes, but
we are.
I don't know how to exist any other way. Like if I wasn't doing something,
facts. And I think this sounds super melodramatic or whatever, but if I die on a trail helping somebody learn about it, I'm going to be a happy person, and I think that I don't want it to take away from my time, focus on family. And I don't want it to be at the detriment of my being able to keep a job or anything like that. Sure. But if I have to sleep 4 hours a day in order to make sure that 20 of those hours are being served, doing the best I possibly can to create that passion and space for the next generations. And from the indigenous community, you talk about 7 generations, you talk about the 7 before and the 7 to come. And I think that we really need to, that's how I really do try to live my life, is thinking about it in terms of, we did not inherit this space from our ancestors. We are borrowing it from our kids. And so we have to be really cognizant of that and be very respectful and mindful of doing right by those that got us here, because that's inevitable. Like we have to do that. But somebody, and I have to apologize to that person, because I cannot remember who told me this, but they said, that's great that you're trying to honor your ancestors, et cetera, but you got to remember, like you got to do right by the people that are here right now as well. So they can see you, they can hear you, depending on what your ideology is. The people that are here right now need to see and hear that most.
Sure.
What makes a mentor, a truly good mentor, is a person that can support that passion, that can find you access, resource, and help you not be them. And I think that's the other thing, is there's a lot of mentors out there that are trying to be trying to turn it's like that armchair quarterback type of
Mm,
mentality of like, I want
mhm.
you to be the next me. And it's like, I don't want anybody to be like me because you need more sleep than me. Uh, but I want to, I would love to have young people find enough passion in spaces like this out here where they can take this over, where I could sit up in this room and watch them do all the things and love the fact that they love it. Trying to, Dexter, I feel so bad right now. Who's the young man who absolutely is the bird genius who's now, I think, what?
Roman?
Well, Roman.
Roman,
Thank you.
yeah, Roman.
So like he
He's
inspires
only
me.
10. That's
He
it's
ins-
crazy.
he
Like,
inspires me, and I think that's that thing. And so we know that there are those prodigy-esque humans out there that are just on their own, the genius. Most of the people that are true geniuses and true aficionados of something, it's because of the support they got from those people around them. And I think that that's to me what makes a good mentor is somebody who can enter it at the level that best suits the person who they see that passion and that joy and that talent in,
Mhm, mhm.
and then try to help build that because of their own joy and love. That's going to inevitably do that, but don't try to turn them into you. Let them turn
Sure.
into the best version of them with whatever support, knowledge, and information you can from your end. And so a lot of times, for instance, the equipment that shows up in the building that I wind up purchasing or the things that we do is behind the scenes based on, in most cases, young people, but adults too, who have said, I really would love to learn how to X. And if I don't know how to do it, or if I don't have the stuff to do it, I'm going to try to figure out a way to make that happen. And I'm
Mhm.
not going to ever embarrass them publicly and be like, we're doing this because of so and so's joy. But it's like, hey, if we can expand on that, because if they love it, somebody else loves it too.
Like, and they were brave enough to speak up and tell you because you
Exactly.
created a space for them to say so. And
Exactly.
and you get that bycatch too, where you created that opportunity maybe for that one person. Oh, but here comes 6 other people that were like, man, I really wanted this and I didn't tell you. I'm so glad you like. This gives
Yes.
me such goosebumps because this is so true. This is just doing what you feel in your heart is the right thing to do, regardless, and providing the opportunity. You're going to catch so many other people and catch them off guard with the amount of joy that you bring to the surface in their lives. So that's just incredible.
And I think that's the important thing. And I will admit I am terrible. And I look up to people like y'all when it comes to social media. I'm terrible at social media. And I mean, we've got the platforms for Color in the Outdoors, and people are like, you are so antiquated with what you're doing. I was like, I know. I have thousands and literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of photos and videos and everything of all the things that we've done. But I'm too busy out here doing the things that, like,
Mm-hmm.
this
It's
morning
a struggle.
I could have been uploading stuff, and I was hauling seaweed all morning long,
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find people to that point of mentoring, like along the way, that I can be like, hey, let me help you do this. And if you know about this other thing real quick, help me with uploading these videos.
you doing the work, bro. That's what matters, In
Right.
the end, the social media stuff, that's fine. But ultimately, like, if I didn't have to spend any time on social media and I could just be out birding all the time, I would pick that 100 out of 100 times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Like,
and that's real. Yeah.
it just, that's the
And I,
why, ain't it?
that
Like,
is the
that's
why.
the why we do this. So,
That is absolutely the why. And I think that that's the other end of this is that, if people can come out and tell this story while they're here, and I don't even care if they tell the story about me, because that's not the reason. That's not the reason I do this. And I think that's the other, back to the mentoring question. I think that's the other part is you're not doing it for you. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
true mentor is not, you get joy and love out of it, but that's, if you do that for your own joy, that's a selfish reason, as opposed
Yeah.
to, I will inevitably get joy and love out of the fact that we're helping this other person or these other people or this other community or the land that we are working in and on. If we're giving to it and it gives back, then that's the win. And I think that that's also part of it.
And that sounds like that's a little bit of your way to stay grounded is making it not about yourself, making it about the result that you see in the hearts of other people. And what is your big why right now, right, for continuing to build this space, right? Because you just mentioned you still got stuff to do. You got to make a whole new wildflower meadow. You got to keep culling the seaweed. You got other events coming. What do you do to reconnect yourself? We talked at the beginning about how you can find joy and peace just looking out the window. But what's that thing that kind of keeps you anchored in when you're only getting 4 hours of sleep? Like, what is that thing moving forward that really drives you?
I'm seeing the smiles. I mean, I know that sounds cheesy, but that's real. I mean,
Sure.
seeing the smiles, seeing the people sitting by sitting in a field or holding a butterfly or just staring. I mean, that's the other thing is that when we are so busy that we forget that quote unquote spacing out is actually okay. Like that's our brain regrouping. And so they can sit
Amen.
on the edge of a field and just stare out there. And,
Amen.
you know, and I always laugh. In fact, Jasmine was out here the other day with her granddaughter, and her granddaughter went out and sat on the kayak for, I don't know, over an hour, and it started to rain. And so she came in and she was so tired. And then she's like, I need to take a nap. I'm like, well, then go take a nap. And I think that we don't allow ourselves to be in those spaces and do those things. So the thing that grounds me is the ability to give people that opportunity in that space to go do those things, to be able to either go out and hike and really or to sit down somewhere and snore for the next 3 hours. And I literally have had people that have come out here. We don't
on
say
those
a word
comfortable
to each other.
cots.
Hey, I'm telling you, you know,
Man, me and Jason laid on them like,
Yeah.
I can
that's
sleep
what I'm
here.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
See, that's it. It's being able to take that opportunity and not feel bad about it. Being able to not be held to any rules, regulations, or I mean, just come out here and relax. You don't have to talk to me. And there are people that do that. They come out here, you know, and say, hey, how's it going? They head off to do whatever they're doing, and they text me later, say, I had a wonderful time. Thanks so much. And that's all I need, right? Is to know that the work that I do on the trails or the work that I do with the seaweed and all those things we talked about provide the opportunity for somebody to find peace along the way. To me, that's what keeps me grounded. It's being able to, because we live in a turbulent world, and as humans, we cause chaos. We cause chaos for ourselves. We cause chaos for others. And I've definitely, unfortunately, done my share back in. And so being able to try to, maybe there's a making amends for all those wrongs, but also at the same time trying to do right moving forward. And I think that's incredibly important. And we lose track of that so often because we're addicted to the negative. We're addicted to the sensationalized. Oh my gosh, did you hear about such and such?
Sure.
And rarely do we celebrate the, you know what? I didn't even say anything the last 3 hours.
Mm.
And that's okay. Isn't that amazing?
Amen. Amen.
So love it. Chris, this, man, every time, Jason, an hour flies by and I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, how is this even possible? Like, they say time flies when you're having fun, literally. And now we need to speed it up a little bit more with a little Bird Joy podcast rapid fire. All right. So
all right.
We're going to ask you a question and you let us know what's the first thing that pops up in your mind. All right.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. Here we go. What is your favorite outdoor activity right now?
Hiking.
One thing everybody should try in the outdoors at least once.
Paying attention to something around you outside.
Okay. Describe peace of mind acres in one word.
Restorative.
What's something you always pack for a trip?
Snacks.
What kind of snacks, though? Hold on a minute. What kind of snacks? What are we talking?
All right. You got to have a good trail mix. If you have too much chocolate, you're going to be more thirsty, and you're going to wind up having a sugar crash. So don't do all kind of. People try to throw all kind of chocolate. Is still important.
Solid.
Dried mango for sure. Dried cherries for sure. Good dry walnuts. I mean, that kind of thing. So food that you can pack that's not going to spoil. Definitely good trail food. And I think that this isn't a plug, but we do a camp cooking class to talk about, like, you don't have to eat just sticks and twigs to enjoy time outside. You can have a straight up 3-course meal and live
hey,
life
listen,
well.
I'm trying to get one of them 20-inch bass thrown over a skillet somewhere. Y'all, I mean, I haven't eaten dinner yet. You had me hungry talking about that earlier, but
yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Craziest thing you've seen on a camping trip?
I've seen when I was at Yosemite when I was a kid with my family in the park when some big brown bears came through and tore the tops off of vehicles trying to get at food. Like literally peeled the roof off of cars to get food.
And you were still like, you know what? I want to be out here in the outdoors.
100%. I was actually trying. I wanted to follow the bears, and the rangers were like, "You need to stay." I was like, "I'm missing all the fun."
One outdoor skill that has changed your life.
Fire building. To that point of survival, and survival can be looked at in a million different ways. If you are able to survive in the worst of conditions, your perception of your surroundings change, whether that's in the city or in the country, in the woods or in the boardroom.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Because I know I don't know how to the right way, and I probably got to come out there, but I watch those silly shows like Alone where they drop people off. And I'm like, bro, build a fire. What are you doing? Like, you got daylight. It's not raining. Build a fire. I don't care about your shelter. Just get a fire going first wherever you're going. Like, and in my head, I'm like, this is so logical, but I know I can't do it out there. So who am I?
If you don't have a survival kit in your vehicle at all, if you don't have something that if you were to walk out the door with your backpack, you don't have the bare necessities, I'm going to make you change it right now. So that's my challenge to the both of y'all. If you don't have it, you should do it.
I mean, I'm going to get me that, and I'm going to get me one of them ATW bumper stickers to put on the back of my truck. want to do. Here we go. I'm interested in this answer. Dream destination for a future adventure.
Ooh. Okay, so I have dreamt for a very, very long time of going to Palau, the island of Palau. Or I would love to dive Bon Air. I'm an avid diver as well as all the other things. And the underwater world to me is just as magical as the terrestrial one. So I would say Palau for all of the ecological reasons and how it has become an amazing space based on kind of human interaction to some degree. But
bro, I told you he'd do everything. Like this man, see, I told you. Chris, I mean, dude, I learn more about you. Like every time I talk to you, I learn something. You're a diver too. Like, come on, like this is crazy. Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story, your heart, bro, like your wisdom with us today. The work you are doing is really making a difference. It really is. We're proud to call you a friend and so excited that you are able to join us as our final guest for season 3.
Yeah, man.
It's been an absolute joy and an honor. And like, I would absolutely echo that. Like I'm honored and humbled to call y'all friends. I appreciate the love and joy that you all share with all the folks that you interact and intersect with. And like, we just got to keep doing it.
Yes, sir. I mean, this is such a rich conversation, and I hope our listeners can stay connected. Where can they follow your work or learn more about Color in the Outdoors and Peace of Mind Acres?
So you can reach us at colorintheoutdoors.com or on all of the social media platforms as Color in the Outdoors. And Peace of Mind, actually, we're just in the process of vamping up. We actually have an Instagram page, but there's like 3 pictures on it right now. So Instagram is going to be the spot for Peace of Mind Acres. But otherwise, yeah, Color in the Outdoors, you can reach us on all those spots.
Love it. We will link to Color in the Outdoors in their socials in the show notes. With that, folks, that is the end of our guest interviews for season 3 of the Bird Joy podcast. Jason and I will be back next week with a special season 3 reflection episode. So many lessons this season, so many amazing guests, and we're excited about what's ahead.
Yeah, and until then, folks, just keep listening to the birds and supporting your communities.
Amen. And thank you for joining us today on the Bird Joy podcast. We hope you have enjoyed exploring the world of birding and nature in the outdoors with us and Chris today. Shout out to the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. Like I said, we're always rolling, always got something to do. Yesterday, we had our Bats and Birds at Dawn event. It was absolutely fantastic.
And until next time, homies, as usual, if you are in or around Philly, shout out to the homies at In Color Birding Club, incolorbirding.org. Look us up, see what's going on.
All right. Please share, subscribe, and shout out this podcast episode to all your fellow nature lovers. Help us spread a little bird joy.
Peace, homies. Thank you.
Peace.